So he just sent a messenger back to Musa bin Usaid in Maghrib and said, "Oh Musa, we need some help." So Musa sent 5,000 soldiers, and that's all he could have at that time. So he said, how much? 5,000 soldiers. So the number of Muslim army was at that time how much? 12,000. 12,000. And with that, Tariq bin Ziyad approached the battlefield. Tariq bin Ziyad approached the battlefield. King Roderick, he was very, very haughty and proud. He was a man who thought that Allah had guaranteed, who thought that victory was guaranteed. So he came with his great throne. The people, the peasants and the slaves were carrying his great throne that was studded in jewels, and they had the most richest, full of gold, a throne made of gold, studded with precious gems. This is how King Roderick came. And he, as the historians also narrate, that he bought a lot of donkeys with him. And when he asked, why did you bring all the donkeys? He said, because when we conquer the Muslims, I'm going to take tie the slaves to my donkeys and make them roam across my territories to show them how we are so great and how we have defeated the Muslims and how petty they are. And that's why he actually bought so many donkeys, hundreds and hundreds of donkeys, in order to try and fight the Muslimin. And subhanAllah, because of his kibr, Allah was to give him the lesson of his life. Allah was to give him the lesson of his life. So Tariq bin Ziyad, it has been reported in certain books that when he saw 90,000 or 100,000 Christians in front of him, 100,000 Christians in front of him, what did he do? He told his people to burn the ships. He told his people to burn the ships. Why? So that people know that there is no way out. There is either victory or death. There is either victory or death. The Muslim historians did not report this event. The Muslim historians don't report this event. It is only the Orientalists who report this event. So we don't know truly whether it is a true event or not, and there are some doubts about its authenticity. But whatever the reason, Tariq bin Ziyad didn't turn back, and the Muslims never turned back, and they pressed on, and they were at the battlefield about to start one of the greatest wars that was ever to be recorded in history. My question to you before I go on to the battle is this question, brothers and sisters in Islam. Which party do you feel sorry for? Which one do you feel sorry for? Do you feel sorry for the Muslims who are 12,000 number, or do you feel sorry for the 100,000?
100,000.
Why, brother? Why? That is so illogical. Why?
For surely Allah is with the righteous. So, I mean, because I know history, I think that's what happens, so that's probably why.
Oh, mashallah. See, you shouldn't have read the history, so I could have tested you a little bit. But anyway, alhamdulillah. Truly, brothers and sisters in Islam, we don't feel sorry for the Muslims. Why should we feel sorry for them? Even though they were less in number, they have armies from the heavens coming down to aid them, whereas these people, they have nothing except their own swords. Wallahi, the Muslims have a Rabbani, and an Imam, a fighter and a Mujahid and a pious man leading them, Tariq bin Ziyad, whereas the disbelievers have a haughty king who will lash the people if they do not fight, and who will after the battle take all the winnings for himself, and he has put taxes upon the people in order to fund the war. This is how the king was, and they are being led by this king. How can they ever be equal? أَفَنَجْعَلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ كَالْمُجْرِمِينَ? Shall we ever make the Muslimin like the mujrimeen, like those who are evildoers? مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ? What is wrong with you that you do not understand? How do you judge? So how can we ever feel pity for the other one? Wallahi, we have 12,000 people here who, as Khalid bin Walid rahimahullah had said, جِئْتُكَ بِقَوْمٍ يُحِبُّونَ الْمَوْتَ كَمَا تُحِبُّ الْحَيَاةِ. As Khalid bin Walid said about the Muslim warriors, they said, I have come to you with the people who love to die like you love to live. Whereas those people, they love to live and they hate to die. The 100,000, they love to live and they hate to die. And the only reason that they brought them there was because their nobles, if they didn't bring them, would lash their backs and take their wealth away and rape their women if they did not come and fight. This was the only reason they were coming to the battle. So how do you think, how can the two armies ever be equal? They cannot be equal, and that is why Muslimin were in a better place, better situation, even though they were 12,000 in number. And so the battle started. 6 days it lasted, and on the 6th day the Muslims won. On the 6th day the Muslims won. Roderick died. Most of the Christians were killed. Most of the Christians in that battle were killed. The sons of Roderick were killed. Roderick himself fled, or he died. And from the Muslims, only a few in number died. Only a few in number died, and Muslimin had the whole of Andalus open to them, because now the king had fallen. There was nothing left on their way. And so city after city, city after city, Tariq bin Ziyad pressed on until he took over all of Spain. And later on he pushed on into parts of Europe as well. In this way, Muslims had taken over all of the city. And the people, what was more interesting was that the people did not rebel. The people who were there in those cities, the Christians and the Jews, did not rebel, because they found the Muslims more trustworthy. They found the Muslims true to their word, whereas these Christian kings were not true to their word. They would always break their treaties. They would always break the treaty. So why would they ever go against the Muslims? They would actually prefer the Muslims to be their leader rather than the non-Muslims. And now I read to you certain things which the historians of the disbelievers have written. I will mention to you what the Muslim historians have written, but just listen to what the historians of the disbelievers have written about the greatness of Andalus and how the victory of Tariq bin Ziyad paved the way for a new chapter in civilization. We have Stanley Lane Poole, which is the author of the book The Moors in Spain. He writes in his introduction, for nearly 8 centuries under the Mohammedan rule, Spain set all Europe a shining example of a civilized and enlightened state. Her fertile provinces, rendered doubly prolific by the industrious engineering skill of the conquerors, and it bore fruit 100-fold. Cities innumerable sprang up in the rich valleys in the Guadalquivir and the Guadiana, whose names only commemorate the vanished glories of the past. To Cordoba belong all the beauty, Cordoba basically, and that's Cordoba. To Cordoba belong all the beauty and ornaments that delight the eye or dazzle the sight. Her long line of sultans form her crown of glory. Her necklace is strung from the pearls which her poets have gathered from the ocean of language. Her dress is the banners of learning, well knit together by her men of science, and the masters of every art and industry are the hem of her garments. Art, literature and science prospered as they then prospered nowhere else in Europe. Mathematics, astronomy, botany, history, philosophy and jurisprudence were to be mastered in Spain, and Spain alone. Whatever makes a kingdom great and prosperous, whatever tends to refinement and civilization, was found in Muslim Spain. And we find S.P. Scott in the History of the Moorish Empire in Europe. He writes, yet there were knowledge and learning everywhere except in Catholic Europe. At a time when even kings could not write or read, a Moorish king, a Moorish basically the Muslim king, a Moorish king had a private library of 600,000 books. At a time when 99% of the Christian people were wholly illiterate, the Moorish city of Cordoba had 800 public schools. And there was not a village within the limits of the empire where the blessings of education could not be enjoyed by the children of the most indigent peasant. And it was difficult to encounter even a Moorish peasant who could not read or write. Unbelievable, isn't it? And they say that we are against education. They say we are against teaching women, subhanAllah. Thompson, in his Muslims in Andalusia, he writes, Europe was darkened at sunset. Cordoba shone with public lamps. So when Europe was darkened at sunset, Cordoba shone with public lamps. They actually have public lamps, unbelievable. Europe was dirty, whereas Cordoba built 1,000 baths. Cordoba changed its undergarments daily. People in Europe lay in the mud. Cordoba's streets were paved. Europe's palaces had smoke holes in the ceiling. Cordoba's Arabics were exquisite. Europe's nobility could not sign its name. Cordoba's children went to school. Europe's monks could not read the baptismal service. It's unbelievable, subhanAllah, when you read about it and the greatness of Spain, and it had left everyone behind so far ahead, is unbelievable. And Cordoba's teachers created a library of Alexandrian dimensions. And these are just, brothers and sisters in Islam, these are just, subhanAllah, glimpses at the greatness of Spain. Glimpses at the greatness of Spain. Wallahi, subhanAllah, wallahi, if you were to go to Al-Hamra, and these are the palaces of Spain, and you were to go to the vast gardens that they still try to preserve, you are amazed at the beauty of their creation. You are amazed at how their architecture was so great. You are amazed at how in every single branch of science they had pioneering books which even to now they are preserved as